Okay, we are live.
We
Okay, everybody, welcome to tonight. I have the opportunity to have the other Dr. Kaye with me. This is Dr. Yvonne Kaye. Dr. Yvonne Kaye, say hello.
Hello.
All right, so welcome. We were very, very fortunate to have Dr. Kaye pop on the Zoom call with us. And for the record, one would say we are related, correct?
We are related.
We are related, so I am very, very lucky.
So am I.
So we're gonna have some fun tonight. We're gonna talk about stress. Yvonne has an incredible story, and if there's anybody that can guide us now during this time, it's her. She's lived it, been there, been through this. She can help us. So we're gonna talk about tonight about her background. We're gonna talk about how stress affects us, how stress can create an assortment, a myriad of symptoms that we don't even realize this is coming from stress. And one of our attendees knows this quite well, so I'm sure they'll jump in when need to. So first, to begin with, thank you. And if you can give us your background, and then we will rock and roll.
Okay. My background is very colorful. It's a long life. And regarding this particular subject, my PhD is in bereavement. I'm a bereavement specialist. But regard to this, it's really my childhood experiences in the war that have kind of set me up to look a little bit differently at this, what people call horror, terror, whatever. And I like to try and reassure people about what's going on, and what they can do about it. So my quick background is half Irish, half English. So I get in fights with myself, but I always win. I was raised in London and was in the Blitz of the Second World War, where we were bombed out twice, and goodness knows other horror stories. However, and this is what really sets me here, is that the people there were so kind and so compassionate and thoughtful. For example, when we were bombed out, they would take us in. Even though they had severe rations, somehow or other they would feed us. And when I looked at those people, I was 8 years old, and I thought, I want to be like that when I grow up. And I am. And I'm here with you to help alleviate some of the stress, because you're very good at that. You're blatantly honest, which is a bit scary sometimes.
But it works. It's effective, right?
Yeah. The thing is, you and I both agree that laughter and music and dogs really help in this situation. And people think that that's so nonsensical, but it really, really isn't. It's not at all. So I'm here for you to ask me any questions that you wish, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability.
Excellent. So you have shared with me a story that has stuck in my head. I mean, you shared a lot, but especially during times like this.
Right.
You shared the story of during the Blitzkrieg that they came and they got you, and you had to be pretty much taken away from your family.
Right.
3
times.
Okay, so not once, not twice, but 3 times.
3 times.
How old were you when this first happened? You were very young.
It was just before my 6th birthday.
Okay.
And then when it was over, I was 12. So it was 6 years of this. People tend to forget this. And sadly, this is what I see happening here right now. The rise of all this hatred and stuff, which really needs to be addressed, I think. So I was left where we were. We were away at the time, and I was left there. All my family just went home, didn't say anything, just left me there, and I was 6. And it was
left you where?
At the farm. We were all on holiday, the whole family, and all of a sudden, September the 5th, 1939, they just up and left and said, the only thing they said to me is, you're better off here. So I was 6 years old. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I stayed there for 6 months, and then I went back to London. So I was in the London at the worst of the Blitz. On these 3 occasions, I wasn't away very long, because I hate to give people ideas, but as a little girl, I pretended I was ill until they let me go home. For example, I was in the second house I was in. They would listen to the radio about London being bombed, and I would cry. And I would be punished for that, for crying. So that's when I really indicated that I was really very ill. I wouldn't eat, and I cried. So eventually I went home.
Okay. But it happened then a second time.
It happened the third time. Yeah. I was sent to a place called Cowley, just outside Oxford in London, where the people did not want an evacuee. So I was there for about, I would say 4 months, and they had 2 children. And nobody talked to me for 3 months. Not a word. Just shoved food in front of me, and not a word. So it was a nightmare. However, there was a lot of people far worse off than I was in that era. People that went to farms that were actually almost like forced labor. So I have all that experience. And when everybody asks me, what do? Like, I work with the parents of murdered children and the compassionate friends and veterans and so on. Why do you do what you do? It's the war that taught me everything that I know today, which is why I pursued education in that area, in that field. I was very lucky. When I was 18 years old, I had some courses with Dame Cicely Saunders in London, who was the founder of hospice. So I was hospice trained there. And then I had other lessons or lectures from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
Yeah, 5.
And changed my whole life reading that book. So I had those backgrounds of those 2 women that were quite extraordinary. And although I've gone to university and all that and whatever, I still have learned from people more than what I learned in school.
Right.
People's experiences. Yeah.
Well, we are in what one would consider a stressful time now, right?
Yes.
And it's emotional for a lot of people. And my biggest concern is us as a society and the social isolation.
Yes.
Social isolation for the elders. That does not include you, because you're still young and fit.
Thank you.
So, my concern is the impacts, right? So how do we help those who are afraid this is going to happen again, right? So this is new. This is a pandemic. Pandemics do happen. This could happen again. How would we how can we emotionally prepare for this? Is that even possible?
I think sometimes it's more letting go of things rather than planning ahead. When we project like this, then of course we're going to get very, very fearful. The thing is that seriously, people have to look at what they can control and what they can't. And I believe the fear comes from what they can't control, which they hold on to. For example, when I was in the Blitz, we knew what to do. The air raid siren went on. We put the blackout on the windows. We grabbed a little suitcase. We went to a shelter, and hygiene was important. And we followed instructions. And that's what people have to do now. Simplify it. Do as you're told. Keep the hand sanitizer and be careful where you go, and stay home if possible. My major concern right now is my 2 granddaughters, who are both nurses. And those are the people that I'm concerned about, all those frontline people. So I think it's important maybe to take a look at those frontline pieces and be very, very grateful for what we have.
Agreed.
Now, the fear, that is important, that you pick up the phone and you talk to people you know. And it's very challenging for a lot of people. Daniel, my son, works in a community, a Rydal Park, which is a community for retirees, residents, so on. And their families can't visit them. And I spoke to a woman today, whose husband has cancer, and he responded very badly to the chemo, and he had to be rushed to hospital. She can't go anywhere near him. That's a tragedy. So the phone, I mean, you know how I'm about technology, but I think it's a miracle that we have technology today for people to reach out. There's a lot of helplines. And also, as I mentioned on my own Facebook today, I'm not just to hit the button anymore. I'm always going to respond, always, to everything that comes through. So the human connection is vital. The other thing is that human touch is important, and that's been taken away. So there are things like cushions and teddy bears. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's really, really true that you have that communication, you know, that you can hold something. The important thing is to listen to the scientists and the doctors, not the politicians. I only listen to scientists and doctors. And you. I listen to you. Well, really, I do, because you've got a real handle on these things. And you call me to order sometimes when I go drifting off. So, but I feel very, very content and grateful because of all these marvelous people who are out there taking care of people. The other thing that's really simple, gratitude. When I went to the supermarket, I had to go to the pharmacy. Every time I'm with anybody who works, I always say, thank you. It's so simple. Thank you. And they're so shocked. You know, why? I'm very, very grateful. People are running the supermarkets. People are at the gas stations. All these things that people just take for granted. So I'm going to be a little harsh here. People need to grow up. They need to stop looking and whining about themselves and taking a look at the people who are putting their lives on the line, like the health people. And I look at this as a child of war. I look at this as a war on health. That's how I see it. And so I'm reading a lot of Churchill statements and all these things. I have a card here. Can I read it to you? It says, the most beautiful people are those who have known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, known loss, and have found their way out of the depths. These persons have an appreciation, a sensitivity, and an understanding of life that fills them with compassion, gentleness, and a deep, loving concern. Beautiful people do not just happen. And that's by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And I endorse that. I think that's so right. There are a lot of people out there who've been through their personal hell, and those are the ones that are the most compassionate. Those are the ones that will listen. I think what we're seeing today, which is somewhat alarming, is greed. And that is a result of fear, not ever having enough. So, I mean, I know that as a child of war, you know, we were hungry. So my freezer's always packed. That's always been that way. I find, though, that fear is contagious and it's like measles. Mm-hmm. So the things that you publish are so important. And if I get a little upset about something, I will phone somebody, or I'll watch Dodo.
One of my favorites.
All those animal things, Animal Planet things, and the rescues. I mean, I just love them. I wish I could have a dog, but unfortunately, I can't. But I have two cats.
As do I, but somebody in the house won't let me have a dog.
I hear you. No. So let me just tell you about a group I lead at, Gilda's Club. Gilda's Club briefly was made for Gilda Radner, who had cancer very young. And as a result, when she died, her husband and I believe her sister opened Gilda's Club. Now, Gilda's Club is not a treatment place, but people with cancer can go there, and there's tons of things like Tai Chi and painting, all kinds of things that happen. Now, they can't go there now, unfortunately, but they can do it online. So I teach a course called Laughing When Nothing Seems Funny and When It Is. And because they have the safety of that, it's hilarious. The jokes they tell, the incidents they tell. So we have cancer patients who are in remission, those who are still in treatment. We have two that the case is hopeless. And we have care sharers. That's my name, care sharers. I don't like caregivers. When John was ill with 3 cancers, and I took care of him for 10 years. We shared. You don't just give. And caretaker, that drives me completely round the twist. So care share is important. We have them too. And people like me who have lost our beloveds to cancer. And we support one another. Support in that small group is astonishing. In fact, very exciting for me because I did a Zoom yesterday. That was my first experience. You know how petrified I am of these things.
But look how well you're doing tonight. I mean, this is
Yes,
I literally called Yvonne 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Knocked this out of the park. Literally.
Well, look, I've always loved you, and I've always wanted to be on this with you.
Oh, thank you.
Hopefully, Daniel will be one day also.
I keep asking.
Really? I will deal with him.
You shall deal with it.
Have no fear.
You talked about something really important. You talked about that share giver. I want to talk about that right now because I don't think a lot of people understand the stress that's associated with that individual. You're holding up strong, but then they start to experience a myriad of symptoms, from gut symptoms to headaches to numbness and tingling to brain fog, and we see that in the office. We see those patients come in and they're slowly, because of stress, the emotional buildup is starting to burn them out. Right. So what can you share with, to an individual that is just giving their all, how they can protect themselves from a health perspective?
Okay. Well, I was a care sharer for 10 years, and I actually picked up the phone to people, which was rather amazing for me. I actually picked up the phone. I talked with people. I watched funny things on the television. People would come and sit with John so I could get out for a little bit, or I meet friends for a little bit. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean you're not taking care of the person. It's really healthy for a care sharer to have their own interests, but also to be able to call on other people to assist and help out. Their health, they need to be checked up. They need to, all about eating, diet stuff that's important. And to your amazement, Michael, I bought an exercise bicycle.
I like it.
Get on it. And my friend Lee, who is a fitness person, has given me a series of exercises I have to do. And then I go online and have chair yoga online. So I don't have any excuses, but I don't have the time anymore. I was full of excuses. Can't do this, can't do that, going to do this, going to do that. And I do admit I miss my veterans and I miss my work very, very much. However, being safe is more important. And that's what care sharers truly have to understand. It's not a shameful situation to call and talk to people. And if it's over with you, I will give out my phone number because I've told people I'll be there. You just call. So I'll give it to you now. Shall I?
I'll give it to you now, and I'll put it back in the post too.
Okay. It's 215-393-5464. That's my landline, and I'm here. So if you were distressed and you just want someone to grunt at you for a bit, that's me. I have asked people to create what I call a scream list. And those are people who will just listen and grunt at you and go, yeah, Because I found that care sharers especially just want someone to listen. They want someone to listen. The other thing I do is removing toxic people. Would you like to know how I remove toxic people?
I would like to. I mean, I've shared with you my thought process.
Yes, I know.
People, but I'm going to have you share your thought process. Probably much more legal, probably so.
I've taught many of my cancer patients because when anyone's diagnosed, everybody knows what they should do. So they get really mad about that. So I said, shrink them. And they said, what? And I said, shrink them. right? Make them very, very tiny. And as they get tiny, the voices get very, very little, and shove them in your pocket. Well, one woman, I did that at Girls' Club, one woman, and it was her sister that was driving her nuts with all this advice and so on. And so she did the shrinking, and then she threw it on the floor and stomped all around the room.
Nice.
And felt so much better. And it just gives them, from a humorous point of view, that they're now empowered. Because people who are afraid are not powerful. They're not at all.
Right.
So they need to get this empowerment back. And the stuff and the things that you say are a huge part of that. You see, I'm not aging, I'm ripening.
You're ripening.
Weathering. And the young nurse told me I was marinating. So I don't quite know what that means. But the thing is that, again, with age, it's chronological. It's what's up here that matters.
Right.
What you believe, what you're told you should be if, God forbid, you had cancer, how you should be if you're getting older, what you should do. And people eat that up, and that's very, very sad. The whole aspect of being disenfranchised in terms of their own health is very, very alarming to me. But people who listen to people who know very little, they need to pick up the phone. I heard the other day that they've got something, I've got to look into it, but they've got something online where mental health counselors are available somewhere for people.
That is correct.
So I need to get on that.
Right. So we got a couple of things that's available. So we got mental health counselors that are available online. That's number one. Number two, Headspace, which is a meditation app, is now giving out Headspace for free to our health workers. So
Wonderful.
all they got to do is put in like their tax ID number or speak to them, and then they're going to give out their Headspace app to them for free. Because if anybody's going to need it right now, our health workers are definitely going to need it. So that's where I think you're going to shine even again, because after this calms down, you're going to need to work with those health workers that have been in a hospital, those
Yes.
health workers who know somebody that suffered with COVID-19 and maybe did not make it through. They're going to need your help again. And
Yes.
you talked about, the health workers online. That's really important. We hear a lot about that flatten the curve, flatten the curve, flatten the curve.
Right.
So
Right.
people think they have to flatten the curve so people don't get COVID-19. That
Exactly.
is correct. But the real big picture is we need to flatten that curve so we don't overwhelm the health workers at the hospital for those who get it, right? So it's a matter of two things. Yes, we don't want to get COVID-19. That's why we're in, the social distancing, we're quarantining. And the real reason we don't want to get it is because we can't overload our hospitals. And that's happening right now. So I want to point that out to a lot of people when we talk about our health workers and what they're going through. Now, you do bereavement counseling, which is deep. You help with guilders, you help our veterans. I know you're involved with Al-Anon. So for somebody who is a what they call themselves a caregiver, which you don't like, you like the term caregiver, is there a group for them?
I'm not quite sure.
There now is. There should be.
Yeah, well, I'm part of that.
Right.
But you know perfectly well that these people are going to have PTSD.
Yes.
If they don't have it already.
Correct.
And so I definitely want to be available for that.
Right.
And listen and whatever needs to be done. The care sharers, I think, are reaching out more. I do encourage them to do that a lot. And I find that in this confusion, I think it is to a lot of people, they are listening. They're actually listening and doing these things. Look, the reality is, as in the war, some people died. My family included. They were all in combat, 14 of them. John was in combat at 17 in the Royal Navy. And this will happen here, as we well know. However, we can't focus on that. People say when I'm objective or when I'm optimistic, oh, Dr. Kaye's in la la land. Not true. Not with my background. I mean, if I can look at humor with what has gone on in my life, not just the war, but other things that have gone on in my life, then anyone can do it. But they've got to open up their hearts to do that, and maybe shut the brain off for a bit. Turn the frigging news off. There are people that watch news 24/7. That's insane. Yep. It's insane. And it's repetitive anyway. I happen to like Rachel Maddow. And even I've had to turn her off because it's all about this. And this is why I like Churchill so much. First of all, I wouldn't be here without Churchill. He definitely saved my life. But his quotations are really funny. And that's one thing I would suggest, that if you have someone you really like, go on to quotations from this person. Now, I have them from him. I have them from Viktor Frankl. And I have them from lots of other people that I pull out. Because when we were in that war, we didn't have laptops or anything like that. We had to wait for the news. The trouble now is the news is right there before it happens, and it scares people half to death. So he would say, he would give the facts on the news, he would give the facts, but then he would always say something encouraging, like, we will never, ever, ever, ever give up. That's one of his. And there's a funny one of his. In fact, there's a very funny one of his. There was a woman in Parliament, Lady Astor, and they didn't like each other at all. And one day she said to him, if I was married to you, I'd poison your food. Oh. And he said, if you did that, if I was married to you, I'd eat it.
Right. I remember that exactly.
Yeah, but there's a lot like that. You Harry Potter fans, if you go on Dumbledore, there's a ton of quotations about the light. You know, and I find those things very encouraging, short and sweet. And people don't take advantage of that. You know, that they think, well, they're not here in the midst of it. They don't know. Well, listen, this is a world crisis. This isn't a country crisis anymore. Right.
Well, I can tell you that taking a news break, taking a news fast is probably the best thing to do, especially when I deal with a lot of patients who have stress. And again, my patients who come and have stress, it's like they don't understand that their gut problem is a result of their stress. Their chest pain could be a result of their stress. Their headaches, that numbness, that tingling, that constant tension in their neck can all be a result of the stress. And a lot of times they say, are you watching the news? And they say, yes. And my question is, why? Right? So I'm not saying to stick your head in the sand, but what are you really going to get? Okay, so let's say you watch news for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it's not going to really give you that much more. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is we don't know what you're watching, what you're reading, what we're watching, what we're reading is actually true, right? So if you are a person who loves Fox News, then you love Fox News, CNN is wrong. If you love CNN, then Fox News, CNN is wrong, right? So you have a belief, you look for something to support your belief, regardless of the truth, and you go, aha, I was right. But not necessarily so, right? So when it comes to
it isn't
now, right? What we're here now, but with COVID-19, there's so much going on to do this to build your immune system. Don't do this, do that. I can't imagine. And again, I ask all my patients, anybody watching this, please reach out and let's talk about some science. And when I hear stuff like, you know, they're not telling us the truth because the scientist said we don't know, that means really we don't know. It's changing on the ground as we're speaking. And I swear everybody is actually doing the best they possibly can on every level, right? So this is not a political agenda anymore. This is a health agenda, is what this is.
You know who I have been listening to, and you know I'm terrible at names, but the mayor of New York, he is amazing. I've just got so much strength just listening to this man and his dedication, his devotion to people. And I just hope he gets what he wants. I personally don't know why these empty sports arenas aren't filled with hospital beds.
Well, I don't know. Hold on. The Javits Center is now supposed to be one of the biggest places in New York. Is now the Army Corps engineers, I last heard, were supposed to be developing that into hospital. So I think we're getting there. So, and I think a lot of people, when they hear like military, they go, oh no, we're going to become a military state. Right now, our military with our Army Corps of Engineers, these are incredible. This is their job. They're incredible brains. These are the folks who come in and take nothing and make it into something incredible.
They
right?
absolutely
So,
do.
you know, when it comes to the stress that everyone's experiencing, I think stepping away from the television, stepping
Mhm.
away from the internet, unless they're watching you and I, you know, is something that's really, really important.
I
And
agree.
stick to some science, right? So, I mean, I've been really watching, you know, World Health Organization. I've been following along the CDC. You know, you have to stick to some science. And
Absolutely.
somebody could fight as well. They're not telling us the truth and all that, like I was saying before.
Mhm.
But you know what? We have to stick with some level thinking,
Mhm.
what we want to go after.
Oh,
So,
I couldn't agree more.
you know, you've been through so much. We can go on for hours. You know, we always talk all the time.
Right.
What can you leave somebody, you know, who is just on their edge, man? They feel like this is it. The world's not going to go on. When we're done all this, we're not going to be able to hug one another, which I don't think is true.
No.
You know, that a fist bump is now takes place of a handshake.
Mhm.
I don't feel that way. I feel we will get back to a norm. Some stuff might be a new norm. I mean, I know I have new norms in the
Yes.
office on how we treat. That's okay.
Right.
You know, we want
Right.
to protect our patients. We want to protect our families and each other. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, believe it or not, what do we leave them with? What kind of belief can we leave who's ever watching tonight? I want to give them, you know, a glimmer of hope, because I think there is so much hope. They're working on it.
I agree with you. They are. And as I said before, you know, it's the individual's choice. It's like my Bible, right? Man's Search for Meaning by Dr. Viktor Frankl. He said in that book, which he was in Auschwitz concentration camp, and he said people make conscious decisions on the way they feel. And I read that book and I thought, if that man, in all the horror he is in, can say people make conscious decisions on the way they feel, then I can do that too. And I believe people can do that too. Now, I know some people are far more frail than others. And these are the ones that really need to pick up that phone, watch something funny on the television, and not be just totally immersed in this whole situation. The reality is, if we follow directions, then we're playing our part. And we can't do anything else except encourage other people. And that's what I think is the most important thing. And to be able to share jokes or funny incidents, whatever, like that, it's so powerful. And people underestimate the power of humor, of music, of compassion. They just understate that, and it's very real. With my life, you're absolutely right. Humor from a little girl has been vital. And then when I met John, who was funnier than I am, it got even stronger. And the thing is to own it and share it, because it's a gift. So if you're feeling edgy and you're feeling afraid, pick up the phone, talk to someone who's going to listen to you, cry. I get in touch with my two granddaughters every week, and the nurses, and they know that they can contact me 24/7, because they're right in the thick of it. They're right in the thick of it. So I have that too. And then Daniel was also a frontliner working in Ryder Park, that kind of thing. So there's a whole lot of things that I find that people feel easier when they've talked. You know, talk is right there. It's not going to cost anything. Pick up the phone. You have my phone number, for example. Pick it up. Talk.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And humor, as you well know, plays a large role in my life, in my office. So, for sure.
Well, when I describe you, when I recommend people to come to you, that's what I say. I said, the noise you're going to hear in that office is laughter.
You will always hear laughter.
Yes. What happened to your whoopee cushions you used to make people sit on?
So the whoopee cushions has progressed and improved to electronics now.
Oh.
Right. So now I got a remote control.
Oh.
Yeah.
What a relief.
Yeah. I'm not doing the boy school stuff anymore. I've definitely upped my game.
Gotcha.
And it always makes everybody laugh, no matter how old they are. I absolutely
I know.
So it's good to laugh. So How does somebody get in contact with you? What is your website still going
Yes.
strong? Okay, so give me your
Oh, yeah.
website.
It's www.yvonnekayewisdom.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well,
And before you go, I also want to say how wonderful your staff is.
thank you.
They are really to be congratulated.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate that. They're nice people. They put up with me, so it's fantastic. They've
And that goes for Frances, your wife.
right. Well, they've all written, including Francis, horrible things about me on the bathroom wall, but that's not here nor there. So I mean, it's
When all this is over, I'm going to come and read your bathroom wall.
you should read that bathroom wall. It's absolutely hysterical. So Well, listen, thank you so much. You did absolutely fantastic night as always. I knew it was going to be
Thank
great.
you.
I really
Thank you.
enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you for the
I love
10-minute notice.
Yeah, you did wonderful. See, you didn't have to think about it though, right? Boom, boom, boom. You
I
went
didn't have
right
time
on.
to get nervous.
Didn't have time to get nervous. So it's absolutely, and let this be first of many that we do. And of
I
course,
hope so.
I will FaceTime you again.
That would be
And,
lovely.
thank you very much, the other Dr.
Thank you.
Kaye. I
It's been a
appreciate it.
joy, Dr.
And we'll
Kaye.
speak to you soon.
Yes,
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.